Hello and welcome to Soul Love with Kimness. I am Kim van der Sande, your host, and I'm super excited to share another episode of Soul Love with you, where we share inspirational and empowering stories from the heart. We talk about the beauty and the shadows as both are part of the ascension journey, to remind you that you are powerful, you are magical, and to have trust in what you feel to be true deep within. Enjoy this next episode of Soul Love. Before we start the next Soul Love conversation, I want to invite you to check out my amazing book, Activating the Flower of Love, a sacred guide for manifesting your deepest desires and highest calling. This sacred book, filled with powerful tools and activations, will guide you to open your heart to the beauty and wisdom within you, empowering you to create the life you deeply desire from the foundation of love. You can find Activating the Flower of Love in all the major online and offline bookstores in ebook or paperback, or you can check it out through my website, kimness.nl, where you can also discover the different ways of working with me and the latest updates on new starting programs. Enjoy this next episode of Soul Love. Welcome everyone to a new episode of Soul Love, and this is going to be the first one of season 6 and 2025, and I'm excited to share a sacred conversation with Eldin Hasa, and I welcome you within this sacred space.
Thank you so much for having me, and I love the name of your podcast, The Soul Love. It is about, I think everything is about the soul and the love. And I'm very excited to be on your show and to delve deeper into, which is actually my research for the last 30 years. And I write books and articles about it. So I'm very excited to be on your show to talk about one of my favorite topics.
Yes, me too. We've been following each other on Instagram for a while, and I really love what you're sharing there, and it so resonates. But I also love that you're approaching it from almost a scientific or base. So you've written a book, and we see it in the background, The Love Reset. That's your latest book. But what has brought you on this path? What has brought you to go deeper into love and self? And yeah.
Yes. So my journey started when I was in my late teens, when I stumbled upon some meditation, and then I went and studied psychology and neuroscience at university. And I always had this intriguing approach to life. I wanted to know how things work, like scientific approach.
Yes.
Avid learner, always hungry for knowledge, to learn, to research. And that led me to become a scientist. But then that was not enough for me. I thought to myself, you know, science is actually a language, if you will. It's only about 200-300 years old. On average, most of these modern sciences, they are 200-300 years old. And what is the science is actually a language, how you can interpret certain things, especially now in the modern world that we live in. But then I thought, okay, there must be an origin where somebody, before the science as we know it, neuroscience, quantum physics, epigenetics, neuroendocrinology, psychoimmunology, and all these other sciences that I've
A
studied.
lot of those, yes.
There must be some text and some teachings that they exist prior to that. So that led me to go and travel to India, to Nepal, to Tibet, to South America, to Australia, to research and actually have a first-hand experience living with monks on average for 3 months at a time. My longest one lived in a temple with monks. Being a monk myself, as in like you have to become kind of like living. I mean, I didn't get certified, but you do all the practices. 6 months was my longest, living in a temple with monks. I went and lived in caves with the mystics and gurus in India. And so what I've learned in my research is that there is a direct correlation between the science and spirituality. Probably 20 years ago, if you ask a scientist, do you believe in God? They say, of course not, I'm a scientist. Well, about 15-20 years ago, you would ask a scientist, do you believe in God? They say, of course I do, I'm a scientist. So things have changed. And what I understood from all my research, that there's only one truth. There is no multiple truths. It's only one truth. And the ancient traditional teachings, they were talking about exactly same thing that we found in neuroscience, in quantum physics, in all these modern sciences, even the epigenetics. And they just used a different language. They used the language of those times, the time of Buddha, the time of all these gurus from thousands of years ago. They've used different language to actually explain these complex scientific theories that we explain in neuroscience and quantum physics. And they all point out to the same thing. And what was the difference that I found? The origin of these ancient traditional teachings was they began at the premise that these things exist and that humans are limitless, and there is consciousness and there is soul and there is importance of the heart, the importance of all the energy centers in the body. They did not spend 100 years arguing and debating if that's factual. Theoretically, hypothesis and tested and peer-reviewed science. None of that. They started from zero, saying this is all factual, and they built their traditional teachings based on that. What modern science did, they wasted 200 years arguing, fighting, debating, trying to debunk the teachings that they have been around for thousands of years, only to come to same conclusion, which the last 100 years they were like, okay, quantum physics, double slit experiment, how the electrons and neurons and protons, subatomic particle level, how they behave differently when they are being observed, where they used to believe like, okay, so if we do the double slit experiment when there is no observer, it behaves like a particle or like a wave. But if there is an observer involved, surely it's going to behave in the same way. And every time they did the test, it was behaving in unpredicted way. And they're like, okay, so what about we begin to experiment with the particles of water, particles of ice, crystals of ice. And if we couple that with like some emotions, let's see, okay, so, and what they came to the conclusion is that the humans, they have this innate capacity to affect matter or to have an impact on matter in the three-dimensional world. They say, wow, how does that work? Okay, so they said, beyond the subatomic particle level, there is a thing called consciousness. It's not what we describe in thesaurus and dictionary. Actually, that's a wrong definition. It is actually what everything and everyone is made out of. And humans are also made out of the consciousness at the core level, beyond the subatomic particle level, beyond the electrons and protons and in neurons, And they say, okay, so if that's the case, and we interact with the consciousness all the time, is there a way that we can deliberately actually create and impact matter, not just in our lives, but lives of everyone, as they call it, unity consciousness, as in like global consciousness? According to quantum physics, there is no linear time and space. This is just a man-made theory. It's not the reality. So, and this is, I'm going to perhaps tell you a few experiments which has been proven that what I'm saying is the fact. And they said, okay, yes, consciousness, if we observe internally how we feel, how we think, and how we behave, then we can actually deliberately choose to actually have an impact on our consciousness and then on consciousness of everything and everyone. And that like unified, you can call it divine matrix, global consciousness, unity consciousness, like where then the makeup of the three-dimensional world is actually the reflection of that, right? So
you see it with like huge meditation groups coming together for a certain part in the world, or there are changes, and even scientifically they show the results of
absolutely
together too.
I'm glad you brought that up, because there are a lot of lot of actually peer-reviewed scientific papers on exactly what you said. I'm going to mention a couple, but what they said about the consciousness, they said, okay, so if we can affect matter deliberately, right? What's the quantum physics name for that? Well, it's called quantum field. So the field, it's in quantum physics, quantum mechanics is called the quantum field. So this field, what is it? They said, well, the field, it has, based on the research, it has the infinite possibilities of the outcome, not one, not two, the infinite.
Yeah.
And they all exist simultaneously as realities, as well as the reality that you are observing at the moment or experiencing in your circumstances in your life. They're like, wait a second, are you telling me there is another reality that I can tap into and I can begin to experience? Yes. Well, so how do I do that? Well, your current thoughts and emotions are out of alignment with the reality that you wish to experience. Your current thoughts and feelings are perhaps in opposition. Maybe you are thinking, I want to be happy, healthy, in love, my heart fully open, unconditional love. Maybe you want to improve your job, your finances, but your feelings are in opposition. Your feelings are probably linked to scarcity, to focus of I don't have, to focus of I am inadequate, I don't deserve it, I'm not good enough.
And it can even like be a subconscious thing, because
Well,
sometimes it's
absolutely.
not
This
even
is there are
conscious.
programs in the
Yes.
brain
Yeah.
which you are operating based on these unconscious narratives. You're not even aware that you are doing it, right? And so they say, okay, so if that's the case, are you telling me that I am 100% responsible for the circumstances in my life? And I said, well, yeah, that's the good news. So
Yes.
the word responsibility should not be something taboo, like people run away from it. Oh my God, I'm responsible. No, it's a good thing. Meaning, if
Yeah.
you then are aware that, how you think and how you feel has the direct impact on every single atom in your life, as well as the global consciousness, as well as what you perceive as the experience thousands of miles away, then
Yeah.
you literally have to not just what your thoughts, because thoughts are secondary, primary on the list of like to-do list, like it's your heart.
Yeah.
It's the emotions coming from your heart. And
But
people
it
say,
shifts from being a victim of circumstances, of
yeah,
challenges in our lives, we all know them, to becoming empowered from, okay, I have the tools within myself. I have the key for change. And yes, they can sometimes be difficult and challenging, and sometimes we need to feel, because there's a lot in our heart and in our body, in our cells, in our emotions. But there's the change. It's not like we are someone else needs to change, or that needs to change, or I'm part of that. Yeah, I love that. But before you
absolutely.
move forward, because I really love what you're sharing, but also how all of the different, like sometimes we can feel like, okay, there are a lot of beautiful spiritual text or
Yeah,
esoteric text, and we can feel like, okay, I feel the energy. But I love that you're approaching it from scientific, and a lot of what you're like, if you look at both, there are so many similarities, and but there is now
yeah,
also proof for also those that really like to understand with the mind,
yeah.
and that's what I love. So keep on sharing, but I think it's
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, but this is what fascinated me to do the research. But then, what I also, because I've been teaching for almost 20 years now, workshops and seminars, writing articles, writing
Mhm.
books. I co-authored many books, and I've been busy. So, like the last few years, I've been writing more articles. And then this book came out in October. It's
Yeah.
called The Love Reset: Neuroscience Tools for Self-Love and Happiness. So, it's full of tools, exercises, and journaling prompts. It's basically a 12 months training program in first becoming aware of these things,
Mhm.
and then exercises and tools to actually then improve, like heal inner child wounds, healed emotional and psychological traumas, but all based on neuroscience. Because, what I've realized in my teachings, because, like I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. When I do my lectures, I can use some of the language that I learned from India, from Nepal, from these
Mhm.
monks and gurus. But then I realized you lose the audience, you're like, nah, not for me. This guy is trying to convert me. He's trying to
Yeah.
like make me change my religion or my cultural belief. And I was like, wow, okay. So I didn't like that feedback. And I was like, okay, how can I teach people that they are limitless, they are powerful beyond measure, that they
Yeah.
are the creators and co-creators of their reality without them feeling kind of like caged and like, I don't want to listen to
Mhm.
esoteric, mystical, woo-woo stuff. Okay. So I was like, science.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you do the science and you use the scientific language, I don't say chakra, I say energy center.
Hmm.
I and actually there is a lot of misconception in the spiritual community. People keep focusing on the third eye, the pineal gland, which is the part
Hmm.
in the brain, right? In the middle of your head, right? Of the brain. And actually, yeah, it has a lot of power. It also is responsible for like secreting and producing melatonin, so it has to function in appropriate way. But that is secondary important thing in your evolution, in your growth, in your accessing that intrinsic superpower as a human being that you actually possess. You have
Yeah.
it. It's not something I can teach you to have. You have it, right?
Yes.
But there is a primary one, which why the three hearts, why one is like broken, the middle one is slightly healed, and then the last one is healed, like the love reset, right? The heart reset. So
Yeah.
the name heart, that is
Yeah.
the one which is the most powerful and most important when it comes to everything,
Hmm.
right? And this is again science. And in in everything outside, right, outside of kind of like quantum physics and everything else, like in a three-dimensional world, there is an energy which is electromagnetical energetical field,
Hmm.
and it has a charge, right?
Yeah.
Now what's interesting is that there are two organs in our body which emit and then also they are the receivers of these energies, the magnetic and electrical energy or charge, if you will.
Mm.
But the heart has been discovered that is 5,000 times stronger magnetic field emission than that of the brain, and 100 times stronger electrical charge emitted from the heart than that of the brain. So, in conclusion, they realized that it's the heart which acts both as the emitter and magnet as a receiver. So, if something is you trying to resolve in your life, rather than trying to work hard externally to try to implement new systems and things, you have to do some introspection in silence and solitude. As they say, listen to your heart. But really, what does it mean, listen to your heart? Well, there is this beautiful ancient meditation, which I can just briefly
Mm.
mention it rather than doing the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's basically, it's a breath, and you do this deep breath and you imagine the white light hovering like a sphere of this powerful energy of love and light above your head. And with each deep inhale, you allow this energy to come down through the top of your head into your heart. And you do that 3 to 5 times, three deep
Mhm.
breaths down to your lower abdomen, allowing this energy. And the key is then with practice that you then memorize this feeling and remember this feeling, and then you become aware that this love and light, this beautiful, powerful, bright energy, like a golden light, it's actually residing permanently behind your breastbone in your heart center. And this is your core. This is who and what you are at the core. Like when you peel the onion layer by layer, then you have at the core, that's who and what you are. And if you live your life from that heart center, so your homework is that you get stressed and you get the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic system gets activated,
Yeah.
fight or flight, hide or run or freeze. um,
Hmm.
but what you need to be, which is our default, this is people are not aware. Our
Yeah.
default human state is the parasympathetic. And how are you going to remember parasympathetic, sympathetic? So, like parachute, calmly getting
Yeah.
down to the ground, right? So, it's
Mhm.
your calm state of harmony, or in scientific language is called state of homeostasis, right? And when we are in a state of homeostasis, the brain is in highly coherent state, the heart is beating in rhythm, and there is connection between heart and the brain. But when we are in a state of survival, state of stress, fight or flight, it beats out of rhythm, and there is no connection. And also, you are more susceptible to illnesses because you shut off the immune system. You
A lot
even
of things
down
go.
regulate your gene expression for healing. You upregulate your genes expression for creating disease. There are so many different imbalances within your physiology and biology. And so, and also important thing to note, no organism in nature can survive in a state of stress, state of fight or flight for prolonged period of time. So there is a benefit, to be in a state of fight or flight, but then you need to be able to self-regulate, there is a story I want to share just for understanding how the system works. So the bunch of scientists, they went to track some polar bears in nature, right? In Antarctica. And now polar bear is like, walking around like huge, polar bear, adult size. And it was like very peaceful, looking for food. And they were hovering above the polar bear with a helicopter, and they shot it with the dart to put it to sleep, so that they landed and they began to investigate, doing the measurements, tag the polar bear, and do all of those things. And after a while, there was a video footage of polar bear going into almost like an epileptic shock, because what happened, that experience was hugely traumatic for the polar bear. And there was a buildup of cortisol and adrenaline in the polar bear's body, right? So when and that energy has to go somewhere. So what animals are very well equipped is that they actually shake it off, literally, physically, they shake that energy off, and that their nervous system goes into the default state, which is the parasympathetic, the parachute, and they feel calm, state of harmony. And soon the bear got off the ground and started walking like nothing happened.
But it's the same a little bit with children. Like they get angry, they get it out of their system.
They go like the dance, they move, and
And we as adults, we all keep it in, and we
we say
illnesses
no,
and stress.
this is bad. You can't do this. This is embarrassing. What will people think of me? And we do it once, we do it twice, we keep, and that becomes a habit, unconscious habit. Imagine each time that those stress hormones they're being produced, they keep the undigested emotion keeps staying in the body, and then eventually your body becomes addicted to these highly addictive stress hormones. And you may be beginning to, I don't know, listen to some podcasts, read some books, attend some yoga classes, meditation classes, workshops, and you say, okay, let me try to implement some of these techniques. And your body is your subconscious mind, actually, not your brain. And your body now, it became addicted to the cocktail of these chemicals. It needs to be into that state of like squeezing the muscles, tense, like rigid, and you begin meditation, breath, and all of a sudden the body is sending signals to the brain. How long will this take? Am I doing it right? Oh, I want my coffee. I want my email. I want my WhatsApp. I want my addiction, my dopamine, my scrolling, my doom scrolling. And it's like training a wild animal, like training a stallion. And
it takes time.
And most people, what they do, because they've been signaling, no, this is not for me. I can't, I can't. But I say to them, no, this is the good part, because you are observing as an objective observer all of this happening. Who is observing it? It's the real you. So you just let it pass like a cloud without, having to take any action. And after a while, through practice, you're going to see that this begins to dissolve, dissipate, and disappear. And then all you have is the inner peace. All you have is that actually it's very empowering, because now you say, I am actually in control of my life. It's not
Yeah,
my
it is.
unconscious automatic programs which are detrimental for my health and well-being running the show. It's actually me
Yeah.
running my life,
And the
you know?
same is with healing, because that's what I notice as well for myself, but also others that I guide. The moment we soften and we really go from the mind into the heart, we also start to feel things. And that can also be scary. That can trigger a lot of old patterns. But it
Yeah.
is because you're choosing to grow. It is because you're choosing to step out of your comfort zone, to step out of the dynamic that is unhealthy for you, that you start to feel things. And it's not like I always share, it's not because you're doing something wrong. It is because you're choosing
Yeah.
to unpeel all these layers and to come back to your pure essence. But then it also shows what patterns are there. But with all, because I really love the, like how all the scientific things, but everything comes to the same point. But for you in
To the
your
same
life,
truth, right?
yes, it is. But what for you in your life, like you've went through to India, you've spent all of this time. What shifts did you notice for you personally? Also with because we have the awareness, but then there is the okay, how do I embody it? How do I do
Yeah.
this in my everyday life? And what shifts have you noticed by all the wisdom you gained? Yeah.
So I'm an avid practitioner of all the modalities.
Yeah.
And so depending obviously how busy I am, I would wake up 4 a.m., 5 a.m., anywhere between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. And it's a me
Mhm.
time, quiet time. I like to be walking up with nature where you hear the birds and animals and 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 I practice various things. But non-negotiable for me is always breath work and meditation. That's a non-negotiable twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. And even like I would go to a sauna, after the workout, physical exercise, like a gym and cardio and like stressing the physical body. I would have ice cold showers and sauna. And when I'm before the ice cold shower, I would do some breath work. Then
Mhm.
I would go into sauna, and actually I would do that heart center
Yeah.
golden light meditation breath work while I'm in the sauna. So it's like, you know, I could be driving, I'm doing the breath work. I could be, do you see what I mean? So when
Yeah.
people come to me and say, well, I don't have time. Well, you do. You could be doing the dishes, you could do the breath
Yes.
work, you could do meditation with your eyes open while you vacuum in. You could be, you know,
It
it's
needs to
about.
become a really like an every like a part of you, not a
Yeah,
task on your
exactly,
list. It
exactly. And
is a
like
part of it.
like you could do like so there is a powerful there's many mirror technique
Mm.
like work that I do, like mirror routines. So one of them, I say, look, you brush your teeth twice a day, right?
Yeah.
On average, most people do. And I said, look, if you when you finish brushing, first of all, brush with a non-dominant hand. That's going to
Mhm.
bring you in the present moment. It's all about being present rather than wandering around with your mind. Number two, when you finish brushing, you look deep into your eyeballs, behind the eyeballs, as in like into your soul, and you say 7 things you are proud of yourself for. If you haven't got time, do 2 things, one thing. But the key is to embody what you said, like not just
Yeah.
like, like a repeating mechanistically like a parrot without the meaning. You
Because
have
then
to.
it's still the brain, it's not the
Yeah,
heart.
you
It's
have
the
to
yeah.
evoke. And people, and I said, just to test it, try. Say one thing you're proud of yourself for. So they say, you say it's very uncomfortable. It's
Mhm.
very uncomfortable. And the thing is, like, I work with people, and like most people are high achievers that I work with. And you
Mhm.
know what they say to me? They say, I actually fall asleep on the uh, laptop on my lap. The laptop falls off of my lap, and that triggers me to wake up. And then I say, oh, I'm on a couch or armchair, and I should move to the bedroom. and
Mhm.
and what we identify that, in all of these cases, what they have in common is that they are high achievers for one reason: because they don't want to spend any time in silence and solitude to actually become aware of all of these traumas and all of these emotions, which give them night tremors. It gives
Yeah.
them nightmares for decades. And most of these people, what they have in common, they've on average sleep only for 2 hours, and they seldom have the cycles of REM and non-REM sleep, like a deep
Yeah.
sleep, which is for rejuvenation, for healing, for cellular repair. And then what happens is they are very good at putting like almost like a mask, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
underneath they are in a perpetual state of stress, fight or flight, which, yes, they are high achievers, they are very successful financially, but
Yeah.
they are just on the edge of the burnout.
Yeah, it is.
And
Yeah.
if they are honest, they will say, listen, I don't know if I can. And then what happens, this begins to translate in some sort of chronic condition within their physical body. Because,
Yeah.
as I said, no organism in nature can survive in perpetual
Keeps on
state of
building up.
stress.
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
And
But
so
it's
I
but I
help them with healing,
yeah, but
with as you, what you were saying.
I believe there needs to be a shift also in society where we see that as success. And in a way, it's beautiful, all the financial wealth and all of that.
Yeah, yeah.
But the true wealth is like being connected with our bodies, being happy, being in a way centered and aligned and truly feeling that and yeah, knowing. So I think it's
I
really,
think the two
yeah,
can coexist. Wouldn't you
yes,
agree?
yeah.
I think so.
But don't
With
be
your
afraid anymore of,
experience,
of
Kim,
what is here, because this is like I'm all about this is your greatest gift, this is your best friend, and
but
really
wouldn't you
honor.
say, Kim, that in your experience, your own life, and also working with clients, there is a cost and benefit, right?
It
So,
is.
okay,
Yes.
you are doing all of those things. You have, like, I don't know, millions in a bank account, millions of dollars, pounds, euros, whatever. And, you got all these big houses and cars and everything and clothes, and you travel, like lifestyle, right? But
Yeah.
what's the cost? The cost is stage 4 cancer. The cost is diabetes. The cost is cardiovascular condition. The cost is
Mhm.
something else. The cost is dysfunctional relationship with your loved ones, with your spouse, with your children, with having no friends, and anybody who is your friend is because they want your money. So and
Yeah.
then if you're honest with yourself, you are very unhappy and unfulfilled. And
Mhm.
then maybe, because like you've heard this, people, the saying, I had a bad day, I need to I need to do something. I can't wait for Friday so I can go to a bar, to a pub, to get few beers or few glasses of wine, or maybe go home and open a bottle of wine. What every human is saying when they say that I had a bad day, they are saying, I'm in a state of stress, and I know that my default state is the state of homeostasis, state of inner peace. So, but they don't know that the alcohol consumption, maybe drug consumption, is going to help them to self-regulate their nervous system. But there are
Mhm.
side effects because it's not sustainable. You are not addressing the root cause of your problems.
Yes.
And so
Again,
the emotions are
yeah,
still there, the
yeah.
the traumas are still there, and then you're saying, okay, yeah, but
It will
I
keep on
just
knocking on your door till you're ready to.
exactly. And
Yeah, it
but
is.
this is why they feel so bad the next day, the
Yeah.
hangover. And they actually, a lot of people feel suicidal the next day when they wean off of the drugs and alcohol. And that's why some of them, they want to go into, like, into the cycle, like by 11 or midday, they go and have more drinks or have few lines of cocaine or whatever,
Yeah.
because they know that being there, well, they don't know, they think being experiencing these emotions, they're going to kill me. And I say, no, negative emotions are bad. It's like a
Yeah.
cloud, it's like they're
Yeah.
not going to kill you. And so they know that being in a perpetual state of stress, it doesn't feel right, doesn't feel good,
Yeah.
but they're going the wrong way about it. So I said there is a healthy, sustainable way,
Yeah.
and it could be a bit messy when you begin, as you said, things come up, you begin
Yes.
to identify, and it's like you're peeling these layers of the onion, because ultimately, what one client said to me? He said, I was always scared to actually go to the core of the onion, to my core, because I was believing that there is evil and darkness inside.
Yeah.
And now I've learned that there is just pure love and light. And the guy this is like a 6'4" guy,
Yeah.
in his 50s, very successful financially. He was crying, but it wasn't
Mhm.
a bad cry, it was a release. So,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
every session he would cry and cry, and he said, I'm so happy that I'm crying, I'm
Yeah.
so happy, I never normally cry.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a good thing, you,
But
because
that's why
imagine
it's
decades
so.
of
Yeah.
holding that in,
It
like,
is.
oh my God. It's almost like being scared to be alive, like asking for permission for existing, even with all that money, with the private jets and everything, And so I'm like, imagine if you can heal and connect to your heart and contribute positively to the quantum field, to unified consciousness every single day, deliberately. What you are contributing is love and light and positive energy, making the world a beautiful place. At the same time, you are contributing unconditionally without wanting anything in return. You know what's going to happen as a side effect? The money is going to begin to come in without you wanting or chasing it. And then with all this wealth that you have amassed, you being you, how you are, what you're going to do with the money? It's the legacy. You're going to be contributing. You're going to be doing philanthropic projects. You're going to be going around and teaching others how to be limitless, powerful beyond measure, but from the process of inward to have a mirror reflection of the outward experience by healing inside, and I think this is what the life is all about. And this is the kind of in-person live workshops that I teach in UK, in Europe, and I have one which is confirmed in America, in United States, Scottsdale, Arizona, end of March. And I will actually share with Kim a special discount with her, to put the link with the special
I will share
code
it below. Yes.
for anyone who is interested. This is March 29 and 30 in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's basically 18 hours of not only concepts and theories. So I'm going to help you to build a model of understanding based on the science, why you are doing what you are doing, how to rewire your brain, how to heal your body. But also there is going to be a lot of breathing exercises, special neuroscience-based meditations, and we're going to release a lot of trauma, and also a blueprint how to fall in love with the best version of your future and actually begin to experience miracles in your life every single day, deliberately, like a blueprint. What is the blueprint to actually, and I will explain why for a lot of people law of attraction never worked, and why you need to do these things first before you can actually, as I said, like infinite amount of realities and possibilities exist simultaneously. So you need to tune in. So we're going to move the dial from where you are now into the right frequency. So you are emitting that energy and you are magnetizing the future that you desire. So that's the 18 hours in Scottsdale, Arizona. I think the one is coming in London. I'm talking to some partners to see. It's going to be anywhere between now and March, or could be after March. So
depending on when you're watching,
or look out on my website, on my social media, because this is like a life-changing experiences, breakthrough experiences.
Thank you. I will share your links and your bio below this video or audio, whatever way you're tuning in. And it's so important, and that's why I love these conversations. Like, it really needs to go out, tuning into your emotions, going within, doing the inner work. It is empowering, and it is so important, and it's helping you move forward. It's not because you're weak. It's not because you're doing something wrong. It is because you're choosing to step into your light. So I really love your approach and your share. Thank you. And I want to invite everyone to check out your beautiful book and your beautiful teachings. And for now, thank you for tuning into this Soul Love episode. Please like, comment, share, whatever way resonates with you. It really helps the show to move forward. And for now, much love, and looking forward to seeing you in the next Soul Love podcast. And thank you, Eldin, and everyone. Bye. See you soon.
Thank you so much, Kim. And thank you for all the viewers and listeners. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you for joining this episode of Soul Love. If you want to find out more about what we do, you can find it below. And I'll see you in the next episode. Much love.